This is a message from a viewer named Rick, and when I finished reading his email, I had to step away from my computer and just breathe for a few minutes. This isn't a story about some middle-aged guy who got scammed and lost his retirement savings. We've covered plenty of those. This is about something worse. A 26-year-old kid with his whole life ahead of him who got completely destroyed by a professional predator in Vietnam. And his father, a retired homicide detective with 28 years on the force, who spent $9,000 in 3 months systematically dismantling the woman's entire operation. Rick Brennan didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't get violent. He did what he'd done for 3 decades as a cop. He followed the evidence, documented everything, and methodically destroyed her ability to ever do this again. He posted her name, her photo, and a detailed breakdown of her methods on every expat forum and travel site he could find. He triggered tax audits, flagged her to immigration authorities in multiple countries, and personally visited her cafe to let her know exactly who had done it and why. But here's what makes this story devastating. It didn't fix his son. Tyler came home from Vietnam $73,000 in debt, unable to work, barely able to function. The revenge didn't undo the damage. Rick knows that. But it stopped her from destroying someone else's kid. And for a father watching his son suffer every single day, that had to count for something. What you're about to hear is the story of a young, romantic, emotionally vulnerable software developer who thought he'd found his soulmate in a beachside cafe in Nha Trang, and the cold, calculated extraction of $148,000 over 8 months by a woman who'd done this to at least 3 other men before him. And then it's about what happens when you target the wrong family, when the father of your victim is someone who spent 3 decades catching predators and knows exactly how to make them pay. My name is Rick Brennan. I'm 58 years old, a retired homicide detective from San Diego. And I need to tell you about how my son Tyler met a woman in Vietnam who destroyed his life, and what I did to make sure she never destroys another family. While you're watching, let me know where you're tuning in from. I always check the comments. And if these stories resonate with you, there's a little super thanks button below. Totally optional, but it helps me keep telling stories like this that most people are too ashamed to share. If you've been enjoying the stories I tell, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. Picture this: San Diego, California, March 2023. I'm sitting in my home office going through case files for my private investigation work when my son Tyler video calls me. He's 26, works as a junior software developer at a startup, makes decent money for his age. Smart kid, quiet. Always been a bit of a loner since his mother died when he was 19. Tyler's calling from Vietnam. He told me a month earlier he was taking a 3-month digital nomad trip work from cafes in Southeast Asia, clear his head after burning out at the startup. I thought it was a good idea. Get out of his apartment, see the world, meet people. "Hey, Dad, just checking in," he says. He's sitting in what looks like a nice apartment, tropical plants visible through the window behind him. "How's Vietnam treating you?" I ask. "It's amazing, Dad. I've never been happier." That phrase, "I've never been happier," coming from a kid who'd been depressed and anxious his whole adult life, who'd barely dated, who spent most of his time alone coding or playing video games. That phrase set off every alarm bell in my head. I'd been a cop for 28 years, homicide detective for the last 15. You learn to read people. You learn to hear what they're not saying. And Tyler wasn't saying a lot. "You meeting people? Making friends?" I asked casually. "Yeah, lots of people. The expat community here is really welcoming." "Any special friends?" I was fishing, trying to figure out what had changed. He hesitated. Just a second, but I caught it. "There's this girl. Her name's Jade. She works at a cafe I've been going to. Dad, she's incredible. She understands me in a way no one ever has." Everything in my cop brain started screaming, but I kept my voice neutral. "That's great, son. Just be careful, okay? You don't know people over there." "I know, Dad, don't worry. I'm being smart about it." We talked for another 10 minutes about nothing important. When we hung up, I sat at my desk staring at the screen. My son, my quiet, sensitive, romantic son, who'd never had a serious girlfriend, who'd been lonely his whole life, had just met a woman in Vietnam who understood him like no one ever has. I should have gotten on a plane that day. That's my biggest regret. I should have trusted my instincts and intervened immediately. Instead, I told myself I was being overprotective. Tyler was 26, not a child. He needed to make his own mistakes. That decision haunts me every single day. Over the next 2 months, I watched my son disappear. The video calls became less frequent. When we did talk, he was distracted, vague about what he was working on. He stopped mentioning his freelance projects. Stopped talking about coming home. In May, 3 months into his trip, he called me asking for money. "Dad, I need to borrow $15,000. My stomach dropped. "What for?" "Living expenses. I've been here longer than planned. My savings are lower than I thought, and I've got some unexpected costs." "What unexpected costs?" "Just, stuff. Medical bills for a friend. Can you help me out? I'll pay you back when I get home." Medical bills for a friend. I knew immediately. The friend was Jade. But if I pushed too hard, Tyler would shut me out completely. "I'll wire you the money," I said. "But Tyler, I need to know what's really going on." "Everything's fine, Dad. I promise. I just need a little help. I'll explain everything when I'm home." I wired him $15,000 the next day, and I started my own investigation. I'm a private investigator now, but I still have contacts from my police days. I called in some favors, got in touch with investigators in Vietnam, started digging into what was really happening. I had Tyler's credit card statements. He'd given me access years ago when he first got cards, just in case of emergencies. I started going through them. In February, his spending was normal. Hostels, cheap meals, transportation, maybe $1,500 for the month. In March, it jumped to $4,500. Better hotels, expensive restaurants, shopping. In April, $8,000. By May, he'd maxed out one credit card, $15,000 limit, and was working on the second. I pulled his bank statements. His savings account had gone from $45,000 in January to $8,000 in May. In 4 months, he'd spent or transferred $37,000. Wire transfers to Vietnamese bank accounts, thousands of dollars at a time. Notes like medical emergency and family support and business investment. My son was being systematically drained. I called him. "Tyler, we need to talk about your finances." "Dad, I'm fine. I know it looks like a lot, but I'm investing in something. Jade and I are opening a cafe together. It's going to support both of us. I'll be able to work from there. She'll manage operations. It's a good opportunity." "Everything in your name?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Well, no. I'm a foreigner. I can't own property in Vietnam. It has to be in her name, but we're partners. She's not going to screw me over, Dad. She loves me." "She loves me." The words every father dreads hearing when his son is being scammed. Tyler, listen to me very carefully. You need to stop giving her money. You need to come home. We can talk about this, figure it out together. "Dad, stop. I'm not a child. I know what I'm doing. Jade isn't like that. She's genuine. You'd understand if you met her." "Then bring her home. Let me meet her. She can't just leave. She has responsibilities here. Family, that depends on her. That's why we're building something together, so we can both have security." I realized I was losing him. Pushing harder would just drive him away. "Okay," I said, backing off. "Just be careful, and call me if you need anything." "I will. Love you, Dad. Love you too, son." I hung up and immediately called my contact in Vietnam, a former cop turned private investigator in Ho Chi Minh City named Tuan. I gave him everything I had. Tyler's location in Nha Trang, Jade's name, the cafe they were supposedly opening. "Find out everything about this woman," I told him. "Everything. 2 weeks later, Tuan sent me his report. I sat in my office reading it, feeling my blood pressure rise with every paragraph. Subject: Nguyen T. Bich Nok, goes by Jade with foreigners. Age 27. Occupation: serial relationship. Scammer: targeting young foreign men. Known pattern: works at tourist bars frequented by digital nomads and backpackers. Targets emotionally vulnerable. Men aged 25 to 35. Love bombs them with intense affection and understanding. Moves in quickly to create dependency. Introduces family emergencies requiring financial help. Pushes for property or business investments in her name. Maintains long-term Vietnamese boyfriend throughout. Discards foreign victims once money is extracted. Previous confirmed victims: Daniel Chen, Australian, age 34. Lost $65,000 AUD. Relationship lasted 14 months. Wife divorced him when she discovered where the money went. Now working construction in Perth, still paying off debts. Pierre Dubois, French, age 41. Lost $48,000 USD. Invested in a restaurant with Jade. She kept the restaurant. He left with nothing. Attempted suicide 6 months after returning to France. Currently in ongoing therapy. Park Jin-ho, Korean, age 29. Lost $55,000 USD. Family disowned him for the shame. Works as a delivery driver in Seoul. Refuses to discuss Vietnam. Current boyfriend: Nguyen Van Min, age 28. Childhood sweetheart. Together since Jade was 19. Aware of and participating in all scams. Often poses as business partner or family friend. Estimated total extraction: $300,000 plus USD over 8 years. Current target: Tyler Brennan, your son. Amount extracted so far: estimated $80,000 plus. Business investment: cafe opening in Nha Trang. Funded entirely by Tyler. 100% ownership registered to Jade. Tyler has zero legal claim. Tuan included photos. Jade with men at beaches, restaurants, on a motorcycle together. Photos spanning years, clearly a couple. Photos that Tyler had probably never seen. I sat there, staring at the report for an hour. My son was victim number 4. He'd already lost at least $80,000, probably more by now, and he was walking straight into the final phase where they'd take everything and discard him. I picked up the phone to call Tyler. Put it down. Picked it up again. Put it down again. If I told him what I'd found, he wouldn't believe me. He'd think I was being a controlling father, jealous of his happiness, making things up. Victims always defend their abusers until reality hits them in the face. I couldn't stop this remotely. I couldn't reason with him. He was too deep in it. All I could do was wait for the inevitable collapse and be there to pick up the pieces. So that's what I did. I waited. And I planned what I was going to do to Jade when the time came. The collapse came in July, 5 months after Tyler had arrived in Vietnam. I got a call at 3 a.m. Tyler, sobbing so hard I could barely understand him. Dad, I need to come home. What happened? Jade, she has a boyfriend. The whole time. He was there, at the cafe, our cafe, she said. She said, I was just the investor. That he's her real boyfriend. They've been together for 5 years. The cafe is theirs. I have nothing. Dad, I have nothing. He broke down completely. Sounds I'd never heard from him. Raw, animal sounds of someone whose entire world had just shattered. I'm booking you a flight, I said, already on my computer. I'm going to get you home. Are you safe right now? Where are you? I'm at the apartment. My apartment. I paid for it. But she said, I need to leave. She said if I don't leave, she'll call the police. Dad, what do I do? Pack your stuff. Go to the airport. I'm booking you on the next flight to LA. I'll pick you up. Just get out of there, Tyler. Get out now. I can't. I don't have money for a ticket. I maxed out everything. I took out loans. Dad, I'm so stupid. I'm so fucking stupid. You're not stupid. You were targeted by a professional. I'm booking your ticket on my card. Just pack and get to the airport. I'll text you the confirmation. 3 hours later, Tyler was on a plane. 18 hours after that, I picked him up at LAX. I barely recognized him. He'd lost maybe 20 pounds. His face was hollow, eyes swollen from crying. He couldn't look at me when he got in the car. We drove to San Diego in silence. When we got to my house, Tyler went straight to his old bedroom and didn't come out for 3 days. Over the next 2 weeks, I pieced together the full story. Tyler would tell me bits and pieces when he could talk, which wasn't often. He spent most of his time sleeping 14, 16 hours a day. When he was awake, he'd just lie in bed staring at the ceiling. I found the loan documents in his luggage. $25,000 personal loan from some predatory lender. 24% interest. Combined with the maxed credit cards and the money he'd already spent, Tyler was $73,000 in debt. Everything he'd saved from 2 years of software development work gone, plus debt he'd be paying off for years. But the financial damage wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was watching my son, my smart, sweet, sensitive kid, unable to function. He wouldn't eat unless I brought food to his room, wouldn't shower unless I made him, wouldn't talk to anyone. I got him into therapy. The therapist diagnosed him with severe depression and anxiety, prescribed medication. It helped a little, but not much. Tyler's career was over, at least for now. He couldn't handle the stress of software development anymore. The startup had let him go after he stopped responding to emails for 2 months. He couldn't focus, couldn't code, couldn't do anything that required sustained mental effort. I watched my son, who'd had his whole life ahead of him, reduced to barely functioning in his childhood bedroom at 26 years old. And I thought about Jade, living in Nha Trang, running the cafe my son had paid for, probably already working on her next victim. That's when I decided I was going to Vietnam, and I was going to destroy her. I didn't tell Tyler. He was in no condition to know what I was planning, and I didn't want him trying to stop me or getting caught up in it. I told him I was going on a fishing trip to Mexico for a few weeks. My neighbor would check on him daily, make sure he was eating and taking his medication. I set up a schedule with his therapist for phone sessions while I was gone. Then I booked a flight to Ho Chi Minh City. I met with Tuan in person, the Vietnamese investigator who'd done the initial research. I paid him $5,000 cash to be my local partner. I needed someone who spoke the language, knew the system, could navigate Vietnamese bureaucracy and culture. "What's the goal?" Tuan asked. "I want her to never be able to do this again," I said. "I want every future victim to be able to find out who she really is, and I want her to know who did it." Tuan nodded slowly. "That's very specific revenge. Most fathers want to hurt the woman. You want to destroy her business model. I spent 30 years catching predators," I said. "I know how to do this the right way. Legal, documented, permanent. No violence, no threats, just evidence and consequences." "Okay," Tuan said. "Let's start." Step 1 was documentation. Tuan and I spent 2 weeks building the case. We tracked down Jade's previous victims, Daniel in Australia, Pierre in France, Park in Korea. We contacted them through social media, explained who I was, asked if they'd share their stories. Daniel responded immediately. He was angry, still angry, after 3 years. He sent me everything: bank transfers, messages with Jade, photos, timelines. He'd kept it all because he'd thought about trying to get legal recourse, but couldn't afford the lawyers. Pierre was harder. He didn't want to talk about it at first, still ashamed. But when I told him about Tyler, about how my son was lying in bed barely able to function, something shifted. He sent me his documentation too, and he told me, "Tell your son it wasn't his fault. Tell him that from me. It wasn't his fault." Park never responded. "I understand," Some wounds are too deep. But I had enough. 3 victims, including my son. $300,000 extracted over 8 years. A clear, documented pattern. Tuan got the business registration for the cafe. Everything in Jade's name. Tyler had no ownership stake, no legal claim, nothing. $50,000 of his money, completely unprotected. We got photos of Jade and Min together, current photos, from social media and from surveillance. Them at restaurants, on the beach, clearly a couple. Tuan even got testimony from one of Jade's former friends who'd grown disgusted with the scams and was willing to talk on record. We compiled everything into a detailed, fact-based report. No opinions, no libel, just documented evidence. Timeline of each victim. Amounts extracted. Methods used. Photos of Jade and Min together. Business registrations showing the cafe ownership. Testimony from witnesses. It was ironclad. Everything provable. Everything documented. Exactly like building a criminal case. Except there was no law against breaking hearts and taking money that was given voluntarily. But there were other laws. And that's where Step 2 came in. Step 2 was hitting her from multiple angles. Immigration fraud. Tuan discovered that Jade had applied for an Australian tourist visa the previous year, probably planning to visit Daniel before that relationship imploded. The visa application contained false statements about her employment, income, and financial assets. She'd overstated everything to appear more legitimate. I forwarded copies of her actual business registration and tax documents, along with a detailed explanation of the fraud, to Australian immigration authorities. They flagged her file. Any future visa applications to Australia would be heavily scrutinized and likely denied. Tax evasion. The cafe was generating revenue but significantly underreporting it. Tuan confirmed through his sources that Jade was running cash transactions off the book's standard practice in Vietnam, but illegal. An anonymous tip to Vietnamese tax authorities triggered an audit. The cafe was hit with a fine of 180 million dong, about $7,500. Not devastating, but painful. And it put her on the radar for future scrutiny. Professional reputation. I created a simple professional website. Jade's real name, her photo, and the documented case file. Nothing libelous, just facts with evidence. Warning. Known pattern of fraud targeting foreign men in Nha Trang. I posted links to this site on every expat forum I could find. Vietnam Expat Forum, Digital Nomad Facebook groups, Southeast Asia travel warning pages, Nha Trang-specific tourist sites, Reddit threads about Vietnam travel. I created Google alerts for her name. I optimized the site for search engines. Within 3 weeks, anyone searching Nha Trang Cafe recommendations or Nguyen Thi Bich No would find my warnings. Word of mouth. Tuan spread the word through the local expat community. Bar owners, tour guides, hotel staff, anyone who interacted with tourists. Watch out for this woman. She's running a scam. The Vietnamese rumor mill is powerful. Within days, locals in Nha Trang knew about Jade's operation. Some sympathized with her foreigners, have money. Why not take it? But others, especially those who ran legitimate businesses and didn't want tourists getting scammed in their city, started warning people away from her cafe. I spent about $9,000 total Tuan's fee, travel expenses, website, and documentation costs. Best money I ever spent. Step 3 was the personal visit. 2 weeks into my investigation, after everything else was in motion, I went to the cafe. It was a nice place. I'll give her that. Beachfront location, modern furniture, good coffee. My son's $50,000 had bought something real, just not for him. I ordered a coffee and sat down at a table near the window. I watched Jade work serving customers, smiling, chatting with tourists in English. She was good at her job, friendly but not flirty, helpful but not pushy, professional. Min was there too, working behind the counter, probably mid-20s, handsome, comfortable in the space, like he owned it, which, legally, he basically did through Jade. I sat there for an hour, drinking my coffee, watching this woman who destroyed my son go about her day like nothing had happened. Like Tyler was just another transaction, another successful extraction, completely forgotten now. Finally, Jade walked past my table to clear the neighboring dishes. I spoke in a calm, quiet voice. "My name is Rick Brennan, Tyler's father." She stopped. Her face went completely still. I watched recognition dawn, fear, then calculation, then a mask of calm. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "Yes, you do. You spent 8 months extracting money from my son. $148,000 total. You destroyed his career, his mental health, his ability to trust anyone. He's 26 years old and can barely get out of bed." She glanced around. Other customers were nearby. "You should leave." "I'm not here to threaten you," I said, still calm. "I'm just here to tell you what I've done. I've documented everything. Your previous victims, Daniel, Pierre, Park. The pattern, the amounts, the methods. Your real boyfriend, Min. All of it." Her face stayed blank, but I saw her hands tighten on the tray. "I've posted everything online. Every expat forum, every travel site, every place tourists look for information about Vietnam. Your name, your face, detailed documentation of exactly how you operate. I've filed complaints with tax authorities and immigration departments. I've warned every bar owner and tour guide in this city." I stood up, left 100,000 dong on the table, enough to cover my coffee and a generous tip. "You'll never do this to another family. I made sure of it. That's all I wanted to tell you." I walked out. Behind me, I heard the sound of a tray hitting the ground, dishes shattering. I flew home that night. Over the next year, Tuan sent me updates. I kept him on retainer, $500 a month, to monitor Jade and report back. Month 1. The cafe's tourist traffic dropped noticeably. Foreigners who searched for Nha Trang recommendations were finding my warnings. Many chose other establishments. Revenue declined by an estimated 30–40%. Month 3. Jade's visa application to Australia was formally denied. She'd been planning to visit Daniel, probably to extract more money or start a new scam in Australia. The denial referenced inconsistencies in her previous applications and documentation. Month 6. The tax audit resulted in additional fines. The cafe struggled financially. Tuan sources reported that Jade and Min were fighting constantly about money. The easy income stream from foreign victims had dried up. Month 9. Jade attempted to start a new scam with a German tourist who'd wandered into the cafe. The man was interested, started spending time with her. 3 days later, he searched her name, found my website, and left a Nha Trang the next morning. Tuan confirmed this through contacts at the man's hotel. Year 1. The cafe closed. Unable to maintain profitability without the supplemental income from scamming tourists, facing ongoing tax scrutiny, and dealing with the reputational damage, Jade and Min shut it down. Tuan reported that they'd moved to Da Nang, a larger city about 500 kilometers south. But the internet follows. The warning spread. My website ranks high in search results for her name. Jade's career as a professional relationship scammer is effectively over. She could change her name, start fresh in a new city, try new approaches. But the easy marks young, lonely, trusting men like Tyler who walk into her trap with open hearts and open wallets. They won't find her as easily anymore. And that's all I wanted. I couldn't undo what happened to my son, but I could make sure it meant something. Tyler's still broken. That's the hard truth. The revenge didn't fix him. He's been home for a year and a half now. He's on medication, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds. He sees a therapist twice a week. It helps, but he's not the person he was before Vietnam. He works part-time at a local tech repair shop fixing computers, replacing screens, basic stuff. He can't handle the pressure of real software development anymore. The anxiety is too severe. He has panic attacks when he tries to code. His brain associates it with the time when everything was falling apart and he couldn't see it. He lives with me. Maybe forever, I don't know. He talks about getting his own place eventually, but I don't push it. He needs stability, security, to not worry about rent or bills while he's trying to rebuild himself. He doesn't date, won't even consider it. He flinches when women show interest. A barista smiled at him once and wrote her number on his cup. Tyler threw the cup away without drinking the coffee and didn't go back to that cafe for 3 months. The debt is crushing him. He makes maybe $1,800 a month at the repair shop. After minimum payments on the credit cards and the predatory loan, he has almost nothing left. I've offered to help, but he won't let me. Says I've already done enough, that it's his mistake to pay for. I watch my son struggle every single day, and I feel the anger fresh each morning. Jade took a bright, promising kid and hollowed him out, left him with nothing but debt and trauma and an inability to trust anyone. Sometimes Tyler asks me what I did in Vietnam. I've never told him the full extent. I just said I looked into things, made some calls, did some research. He doesn't need to know about the investigation, the documentation, the systematic destruction of Jade's operation. He told me once, "It doesn't matter anymore, Dad. She got away with it. She's probably doing it to someone else right now." I wanted to tell him she's not, that I made sure she's not, that every time she tries, my warnings are there to stop it. But I didn't. Tyler needs to focus on healing, not on revenge. Maybe someday I'll tell him, when he's stronger, when he can hear it, without spiraling. For now, I just keep monitoring. Tuan sends monthly updates. Jade tried opening a small shop in Da Nang handicrafts for tourists. It's struggling. She tried connecting with a British man through a dating app. He searched her name and blocked her immediately. My website stays up, the warnings stay posted, the documentation stays accessible. Because some predators deserve to be hunted. And when you target someone's kid, you better pray their father isn't someone who knows how to hunt. Here's what I want other parents to understand, because I know there are thousands of Tylers out there right now, and thousands of Jades. First, if your kid suddenly stops communicating clearly from overseas, something is wrong. Not just calling less often. I mean, their communication becomes vague, deflecting, superficial. They avoid questions about specifics. That's a sign of isolation, which is the first step in any manipulation. Second, I've never been happier. From a previously depressed or lonely person is often a red flag. Genuine happiness builds gradually. Manufactured happiness by a manipulator hits like a drug, immediate, intense, and exactly what the victim has been desperately craving their entire life. Third, track unusual requests for money. They reveal the timeline of exploitation. Small amounts at first, $500, $1,000, testing the waters, then escalating rapidly. If your adult child, who's been financially independent, suddenly needs thousands of dollars for vague reasons, a scam is running. Fourth, don't cut off your child when you suspect a scam. You'll lose access to help them. They'll defend their abuser and cut you out. Stay calm, stay supportive, stay involved. Document everything you can from a distance. You'll need it later. Fifth, professional scammers target specific personality types. Sensitive, romantic, lonely people who've never felt truly loved or understood. They're looking for empathy, validation, connection. The scammer provides all of it intensely, immediately, exactly calibrated to the victim's emotional needs. Sixth, your child will defend their abuser until reality hits them. They'll get angry at you for suggesting anything's wrong. They'll insist you don't understand. Don't take it personally. The manipulation is that good. Just be ready for when the collapse comes, because it always comes. Seventh, when they finally break, they'll need years of support. Not weeks, not months, years. The psychological damage from this kind of betrayal doesn't heal quickly. Be patient. Get them professional help. Accept that they might never fully recover. Eighth, revenge is optional but can prevent future victims. I'm not saying everyone should do what I did, but if you have the resources and skills to document the scammer's pattern and make that information public, it can save other families. Just keep it legal, factual, and evidence-based. Ninth, you can't undo the damage. This is the hardest truth. No amount of revenge, justice, or exposure will give your child back the years they lost or the trust they'll never have again. The best you can do is make sure the destruction meant something. I think about the other victims sometimes. Daniel in Australia, still paying off debt 3 years later, divorced, working construction. Pierre in France, who tried to kill himself, who will probably never fully trust anyone again. Park in Korea, disowned by his family, delivering food to survive. And Tyler, my Tyler, 27 years old now, working at a repair shop for minimum wage, living in his childhood bedroom, barely functional. 4 young men, smart, decent, hardworking, destroyed by one professional predator. How many more are out there? How many women in Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Colombia, Ukraine running the same operation? Targeting lonely men, extracting everything, discarding them, moving to the next victim? And how many families are watching it happen, feeling helpless, not knowing what to do? I did what I could. I documented everything. I exposed her. I made it harder for her to find new victims. I made sure anyone searching her name would find the truth. But Jade is just one predator in an ecosystem of thousands. For every one I expose, there are hundreds more operating successfully, quietly draining lonely men and leaving them destroyed. The real solution isn't revenge on individual scammers. It's addressing why these scams work in the first place. Loneliness, isolation, emotional vulnerability. Young men growing up without the social skills or self-esteem to attract partners in their home countries, turning to the internet, to travel, to foreign women who seem more accepting, more genuine, more interested. Tyler had everything going for him. Good job, decent looks, intelligence, kindness, but he'd never learned how to connect with people, never had a girlfriend, spent his 20s isolated, coding, lonely. That loneliness made him vulnerable. And Jade saw that vulnerability from the moment he walked into her cafe. 6 months ago, Tyler finally asked me what I did in Vietnam. We were sitting on the back porch, evening, watching the sunset. He'd had a good day, worked a full shift, came home, made dinner, seemed almost normal. Dad, did you just do research when you went to Vietnam? Or did you do more? I looked at him. He deserved to know. He was strong enough now to hear it. I destroyed her operation, I said simply. What do you mean? So I told him. Not everything, he didn't need every detail, but the key points. The documentation, the previous victims I'd tracked down, the website exposing her pattern, the tax investigation, the immigration flags, the word I'd spread through expat networks. Her cafe closed, I said. She moved to a different city, but the warnings followed her. Every time she tries to start a new scam, my documentation is there. She can't operate the way she used to. The easy targets won't fall into her trap anymore. Tyler was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Does that make you feel better?" "No," I admitted. "It doesn't fix what happened to you, but it stopped her from doing it to someone else's son. And that has to count for something." Tyler nodded slowly. "Thank you, Dad, for caring enough to do that. I'm your father," I said. What else was I going to do? We sat there in silence as the sun went down. It wasn't closure. I don't think Tyler will ever have real closure. But it was something. Acknowledgement that what happened to him mattered. That he wasn't just another disposable victim. That's all I could give him. My name is Rick Brennan. I'm 58 years old. I spent 30 years as a homicide detective, 28 years married to the love of my life before she died, and 27 years raising a son who is the best thing I ever did. That son got destroyed by a professional predator in Vietnam. Lost $148,000, his career, his mental health, his ability to function in the world. I spent 3 months and $9,000 systematically dismantling the woman's operation. Not for revenge. Revenge wouldn't fix Tyler, but to make sure she couldn't do it again. To make sure the next young, lonely, romantic kid who walks into a cafe in Vietnam searching for connection doesn't end up like my son. Was it worth it? I honestly don't know. Tyler's still broken. Still sleeping 14 hours a day on his bad days. Still can't code. Still won't date. Still has $73,000 in debt he's paying off at $200 a month, which means he'll be paying it until he's in his 40s. But Jade's cafe is closed. Her scam is exposed. Her name is permanently attached to warnings that any tourist can find with a simple Google search. Maybe that stopped one more father from getting a 3 a.m. call from his son, sobbing in a foreign country. Maybe that saved one more family from watching their kid disintegrate. Maybe it was worth it. Or maybe I'm just telling myself that so I can sleep at night. If you're a parent and your child is overseas in a relationship that worries you, trust your instincts. Don't wait like I did. Don't tell yourself they need to make their own mistakes. Get involved. Ask questions. Do research. Look for the red flags. And if you confirm they're being scammed, document everything. You might not be able to stop it while it's happening, but you can be ready to help them rebuild afterward. And maybe, just maybe, you can make sure the person who destroyed your child doesn't get to destroy anyone else's. That's all we can do as parents. Protect our kids when we can. Pick up the pieces when we can't. And make sure the predators who target them pay some kind of price, even if it's not justice, even if it's not enough. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something. And right now, watching Tyler struggle through every single day, something is all I've got.